Hi there, Kathy Syrett from Confident Leader Journey here. So today I was really fortunate to come across an article from HBR, Harvard Business Review, which is going to be really helpful for me as a leader. And I think it'll be helpful for all of you as well, because it's about the truth about learning and development and what makes it effective and what makes it ineffective. Some of you may have already heard me talk about the difference between training versus learning and how just sending people on courses doesn't really change people's behavior or build their skills. So this article, which I did share on LinkedIn recently, basically surveyed managers from 50 organizations and employees and identified that 70% of employees report they don't actually have mastery of the skills they need to do their jobs. Now let's think about that. 70% of employees report that they don't have the mastery of the skills needed to do their jobs. So if we dig down a bit deeper into this, what this means is that a lot of employees know what they should be doing to do their job, but they're not confident in how they're doing it. It's the difference between knowing what to do to change a wheel on your car and actually being able to do it skillfully and effectively. And we see this a lot. I don't know, a good example in the hospitality industry would be somebody who opens up a restaurant and invites people to come in and be waiters or servers, but doesn't train them in how to be high quality waiters and servers. And I'm sure we've all experienced that, where the person is doing their best. They're trying hard. They've got the social skills, but they don't know how to be a really good server. Now, some people will work it out by accident, but how much easier would it be for them and how much more profitable would it be for the company if the learning and development those people went through actually gave them the mastery of the skills required to be a good waiter? Now, that's a very simple example, but just imagine how this would increase in importance as you go up through different roles. Now, here's another statistic that it's interesting to know. Only 12% of employees actually said that they apply new skills learned in L&D programs to their jobs. Now, isn't that interesting? 12%. Now, I suppose first of all, there's an assumption they're actually learning new skills on a training program. But that application piece is important. Now, you remember we talked about Bloom's taxonomy in one of my other videos. And there's knowledge and comprehension and then application. If you don't apply that knowledge and comprehension in your work, that training program was a waste of money. So what that's actually saying is that 88% of employees do not apply the new skills they learn in L&D programs in their jobs. Now, is there any other area of business where we tolerate such wastage? I don't think so. And then the third statistic, which the Harvard Business Review article shared, was that actually only 25% of respondents to a recent McKinsey survey believe that training measurably improves performance. Now, I actually think that's quite a high number. 25% believe that training improves their performance measurably. But it's hardly surprising that 75% don't believe that when, if they don't feel they have mastery of the skills to do their job, and if they don't feel that they can apply any skills from their training programs or L&D programs to their jobs, we're really not having an impact with our learning and development. Now, this is important as leaders because we might have a tendency to go, oh, you need X skills, so off you go on that training program. But when we actually look at this, we can see that there are some things as a leader that we need to focus on. So first thing is timing of learning. How many of us have been through onboarding programs when we join a company and we learn some amazing stuff, but it's absolutely irrelevant to the role we're doing or the role we're doing at that time? Great example of this is sales skills, which, as some of you know, is one of my specialisms. There is no point giving a new starter straight from uni a course, a training program on advanced level behavioral psychology to interact with senior clients if their role is to talk to the people in purchasing and to take their orders. Okay. When you learn something, a simple way of thinking about it is, if it's going to stay in your brain, it has to have a hook that attaches to something that's already in your brain. So if I know I'm going into a role where I'm going to be talking to senior decision makers, by all means, I'm going to be excited and I'm going to learn and I'm going to listen and pay attention, and my brain's going to be motivated to retain information because it's going to hook into what's important right now. But if that use of that skill is going to be years in the future, further down the road, etc., my brain is not going to store it for me. It's going to reserve the space for something more immediate and more important right now. Okay. And so the timing is important. The other thing is we're learning the wrong things. I see this time and time again. And in fact, if you've read my book, Complete Confidence, one of the things I talk about is the very first step is to use confidence mapping to identify what the actual issue is. And I was working with someone who thought that he needed presentation skills training, but actually his real issue was that he was not confident in answering questions from senior management. That's not about presentation skills. That's a completely different focus. So we need to make sure that we're not just giving people kind of off-the-shelf training programs without really analysing what we want to happen. And this is where focusing on what the desired outcome is and bringing it back to what are the skills that we need to have to get us to that desired outcome is so important, rather than someone comes to you and says, oh, we need a conflict management because there's some arguments going on. So is it really a conflict management situation? Or is it that they've got different approaches to problem solving and actually we need to work on that? So that wrong thing. Something else we need to be aware of as leaders is that unless we have content and materials that really hook into things that are already in our brain, so they attach, they're not going to stay there. So we might learn something really exciting and we're enthusiastic about it, but we wake up the next morning and it's slipped away because it's not attached to anything that's already in our brain. So we need to think about, how do we create content and learning in a way that it actually isn't forgotten? I mean, a basic figure is 60% of learning is forgotten in the first 12 hours. After 6 days, we forget about 75%. In fact, there's a great learning curve in there that actually 20 minutes later, we forget almost half of what we've learned. So it is about this attaching the learning to things we already know, do, believe, etc. Now, what this means is that we probably have to learn in smaller increments, because you can't attach 100 things in one go. And yet, what do we do on a training program? We give them loads of information, loads of knowledge, loads of stuff they have to think about, and we expect them to attach all those things, often without our help. There's too much there. It's an overwhelm. Okay? Generally, most training programs that are 2 days long, people will only retain the first couple of hours anyway. So it is that attachment. Now, one way to think about getting learning to actually stay in the brain is, I'm going to use the phrase here, use it or lose it. They use it in the article. And it is, if you learn something and you use it straight away and it works, you are going to be more likely to remember that, to practice that, to develop mastery of that, and remember it and use it going forward. So what does this mean for us as leaders? It means instead of thinking about training as, we'll do a gap analysis of skills and then come up with a program for dealing with it, we first need to think about what is the desired outcome, okay? The ultimate aim. And when do people need to learn the things that will get them there? And how are we going to attach that learning to what they already know so it makes sense to them? And in what way are they going to use that learning immediately after they've got it so that it stays in there and can then provide the building block for the next one? So having that longer term journey. And this is where I often talk about having a learner journey that shows this. It's a different approach to some of the traditional training programs, but if you actually want people to change what they're doing, develop their skills, and get that mastery that they need to be effective in their role, this is what we need to be thinking about as leaders. Okay, it's Kathy Syrett from the Confident Leader Journey. Find us on Facebook at the Confident Leader Journey Community. It's a group where you can ask questions, and also it's a post to the blog that comes out of these videos. Okay, take care.